On today's show, we feature magician Mike Norden.
Welcome to Magic Mike's Castle webcast and podcast.
And thank you everybody for joining us this day. We have a very special guest who's agreed to come on, and it is magician Mike Norden. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. How are you today, Mike?
I'm awesome. I'm so glad you've agreed to come on the show.
You have an incredible background. You're not just a pretty face. You're not just a children's entertainer and professional magician, and you're a naturally funny guy. I'm not just saying that to be nice. I think you're a little bit crazy, but I think we all have to be a little bit crazy to be in this biz. And I'd like to get a feel and have the audience kind of get to know you a little bit more if they don't already. Where did you start? What was your favorite magic trick? Who influenced you?
Always a popular question. So I don't have a cute little story from when I was 6 or anything like that. I did get into magic late in the game. I was 25 when I started an interest in magic. And it's funny how you say, are we all a little bit crazy? My wife, who certainly helps run these magic clubs with us, has always called us the misfits from the island of misfit toys from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And kind of, we all think we kind of fit into that little box of crazy and fun in the same thing. But my origin story, so to speak, is Disneyland. So we were 25, we went to Disneyland. You're a little bit older, so maybe day 4 Disneyland isn't as exciting as it was when you were younger if you had a 4-day pass. And we spent time just kind of doing our own thing, and I discovered the magic shop on Main Street, which has changed names. So at that time, it was Mickey's Magic Shop. And there was a gentleman inside. His name was Mike. It's like yours and mine. There's so many Mikes. I watched him demo his little hover card flying around, and I wanted to know how that was done. He told me I had to buy it. I threw my credit card at him, and $500, and 3 hours later, I apparently was a magician. I don't know how that works, but so had a whole bunch of decks of cards, not kids' entertainment at all, but just more of the card tricks and hobbies. And that's sort of what got the bug into me at that point. Yeah.
Awesome. It's funny you bring up Disneyland or Disney World. To me, that's pure magic.
And there was a time, I guess it was the mid-'80s, a little bit later, I was actually living in Winnipeg. And for those of you who are not from Canada, Winnipeg gets really cold in winter. -40 with -40 wind chill. I once saw a dog frozen to a fire hydrant. Kidding. In any case, Florida, where else are my people going to go to? Florida was a place I went to, Miami in particular, for about 5 years in a row just to run away from winter. And there was Disney World, Main Street. Oh, it was more than what you'd see on TV to me. And I was old already. I was in my 30s, and I fell in love with that whole thing. I mean, I've been into magic since I was 6, and then 14, all these different phases. But Disney World, or Disneyland, if you will, in California, to me is pure magic. And I think I also caught in Florida, it was a clown thing, clown school. The guys from clown school put on a show somewhere, and they dressed up in proper, if there's such a thing as improper, proper clown garb. and they were doing magic illusions, the zigzag lady and all this, and that really stuck in my psyche. A psycho guy who's had that stuck in his psyche, and never forgot that. And to me, magic, if you will, brings out that kid in us, or hopefully does, brings out the kid in all of us. I can
Well, the
relate.
Magic Kingdom, right?
Oh my God, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
great name. I mean, Mickey's Magic Show, and magic's certainly interwoven into Disney. You know, you'd watch on Sunday as growing up, you know, Magical World of Disney, magic, magic, magic. So
totally.
it seemed appropriate that there's a magic shop, and that kind of got the bug for me at a later age. So, because you can be, what's their saying, you can be a kid, or it brings out the kid in you, or, you know, yeah. So I think it's
Absolutely.
appropriate.
At the risk of embarrassing you, I'm going to gush a little bit. I'm going to go on a little bit about you.
When I first saw you performing, and I was just blown away because to me, and I couldn't pinpoint what that was, it was the Disney thing. Because you have colorful garb, you have stuff that spurs on kids and adults' imagination, as far as I'm concerned. It's very phantasmagoric, if that's a real word. And I don't know, it's for me, judgmentally, I'm going to say it's the way a magic show for kids should be. It should make the kids go, wow, you know, and have their little jaws agog, if that's a word as well. And so I was so excited to see you perform. I only saw that on video. At our magic meetings, of which they're held at your home in Mission. Again, Mission, BC in Canada. For those of you not from Canada, too bad. I love our magic meetings, and I'm so glad. From what I understand, I'm just going to briefly touch on this. You were instrumental in starting the one of three local magic clubs, a branch of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Is that true?
Yeah. So we have, being Mission, again, for the people who don't know our local area, we're a good hour away from the Vancouver portion. That's without traffic. So, and there's always traffic in Vancouver. So, yeah, and then there were tolls at points on bridges. And so a lot of us, you know, since you can't afford, and we're magicians, who has any money? Yeah, so you tend to move out further and further into the burbs, so to speak, and then it becomes, you know, when you're going in for an executive meeting or just a general meeting or a lecture, sometimes you're driving into the city 3 times a month. It starts to add up in money and then your time, and then as you get older, people have families and kids, so your membership starts to dwindle. So I was president of the Vancouver Magic Circle, and then we kind of decided, well, maybe there's enough of us out in the valley, Fraser Valley as we call it, to kind of have a new club. So yeah, we had past presidents, myself, Gord Boys, Gary Savard, Bruce Hunt, all were immediate past presidents for a decade with the Vancouver Magic Circle, and we all lived out in the Fraser Valley. So we started up a new group. There was only 14 of us to start, and now we've grown to 72 members. So it's a very large club, and we're named after Celeste Evans, one of the few female magicians, and namesakes for an IBM ring that are out there, and she actually grew up in the Fraser Valley as well, out in White Rock. So yeah, I know it's been a bit of a journey. I think we're on year 8 or 9. Geez, I'd have to go look at some things on the wall. But yeah, and we're on year 9. We're kind of writing this year off, 2020. We only get to meet via the Zoom stuff, and it's been a tough year for everyone. But no, it's been a lot of fun with the club.
Absolutely fun. And one of the things I love about this club, the
Fraser Valley one, is it's got a different vibe, a different feel to it, and all three. Somebody told me that there's 4 clubs in Lower Mainland somewhere, but I'm only aware of the one Society of American Magicians, the other International Brotherhood of Magicians (IBM), and this one, the Fraser Valley one. Pardon me?
Someone's saying 4 clubs.
Yeah.
Maybe they mean Victoria in there. There is like an SFU Magicians Club, so there's a few other ones. But yeah, I would just say Sam Assembly 95, Vancouver Magic Circle Ring 92, and then the Fraser Valley Ring 387.
And they're so cool because they all feel so different. You know, a little bit older guys, a little bit more my generation and older at the SAM, Society of American Magicians one. The other one, the bigger one in Vancouver, includes a lot of the guys from Fraser Valley and SAM, and then other ones as well. It has a whole different feel. And this one, and I'm going to tell you, I'm so pleased and honored that you guys allowed me to join the Fraser Valley one. It was the first one since my comeback to Magic. I was absent from the Magic scene more than 10 years, maybe even 15 years, while I was getting degrees and whatnot. I was too busy, couldn't wrap my head around something I really love and have loved all my life, which is Magic. But you were the first guys I approached. Thanks to the encouragement of the late, great Steve Dixon, who we all know. And he was on my case a good 3 years, maybe even 5, about joining the club. And we'd get together for, drinks and hanging out, talking Magic. And he kept saying to me, Mike, why don't you join the club? Why don't you, here, I'll drive you even to the club. And it's like, no, I can drive myself. What, it's admission? So, which isn't all that far from Maple Ridge, really. It's a hop, skip, and again, another hop and a skip. So, thanks to Steve Dixon, the late Steve Dixon, he really...
It's his birthday today?
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
know.
Wow.
What a year. We missed that guy.
You
He
know
was
what?
instrumental in our club, and it just you're hitting right on that point where he would be like, "I'll drive you and come on," and he would promote. He was always about just having fun. Literally, he was instrumental, even though he joined later in our club. Instrumental in the just have fun, just do it, get it done. Forget the bureaucracy. Let's just try and not do politics. Let's just have some fun. What can we do to have fun? What are we saving money for? Let's spend money and have fun, fun, fun. And that guy made this club sort of the essence of what it is. So we're missing him already. Even though the horrible year we've had no time to mourn him, and it feels like he's not even gone. I saw that on Facebook. It's his birthday today, and I was just like, oh, and Remembrance Day as we film this. And it's, quite the emotional day, so to speak.
Wow, I'm going to dedicate this show.
I was actually thinking of dedicating the whole series, and I guess I could go back and edit and put in dedicated, but I'm going to do that for this show in particular. Even though it's going to air later, when people are watching it, it's actually January 22nd, but we're recording it November 11th, which is Steve's birthday and also Remembrance Day in Canada, or Veterans Day. We're going to take a very brief break, and we'll be back right after this.
Producer and host of his specials on social media based on his magical books of the same name, Dr. Michael, Magic Mike Likey, is also a clinical hypnotherapist and doctor of theocentric psychology. Having performed more than 250 shows a year in the mid-80s and 90s, he also produced and starred in the world's longest regularly produced TV shows in Winnipeg, Canada for 9 years, and guested regularly on broadcast television and starred in A Medieval Feast for 10 years. Star of stage and television, Magic Mike Likey performs illusions large and small and will teach you the secrets of the magical arts, both in person and virtually. This is Magic Mike Likey.
And we're back with magician Mike Norden. We're just chatting about all kinds of things magical. And one of the things is the Magic Club, the Fraser Valley Magic Club in particular. And I was just saying before we went to break that I'm so thankful that you guys accepted me into the club. It was the first, thank you. Great bunch of guys. You know, one of the many things I like about this club is there's not a lot of pressure. There's, you just go there and you have fun. And regardless of whether you've been performing 100 years, well, you're probably wheeled out and dead anyway, but whether you've been, did I say that? Whether you've been performing 100 years or 5 years or 2 years, we're just there to have fun. And or as Steve used to say, Steve Dixon, I'm just there to wave a wand, really.
Yeah.
And that's it, for me to share magic. And every time you perform, I love it. Do you have a favorite trick, a favorite illusion in particular?
It's different answers to the question depending on which context you're meaning. Is there something that I like to watch being performed versus something I like to perform versus a favorite part of my show?
I hear you.
Right? So a trick isn't necessarily the favorite part of my show. You had mentioned earlier, we talked about Disney, and if you watch my show, how you see a Disney aspect to it, which is quite true. I'm a very big fan of Pixar, which is a part of Disney. What isn't a part of Disney? Taking over the world!
Ah,
But yeah, I religiously watch all the Pixar movies because I like them, but I break them down, and I try to theme my show based on a Pixar movie. And if I were to describe to an adult who's booking me, I say, yeah, your kid watches Toy Story like 39 times. It's funny every time. My show certainly does mold and adapt to times, but the essence of my show is very similar to what it was even 15 years ago. And even kids who have seen it, I've had some kids see my show 30 times, and they want to see it again.
absolutely.
So that's what I try to really do. So if they're like, oh, we've had you 4 times in a row, the adult is sort of like, I know your jokes, and I know the whole thing. Can you do something different? Yeah, I can change a few things, but no, it still has to be the same. You can't just change Toy Story. The kid's going to be upset if they don't see that part. And I learned that early on because I time every 4 to 6 minutes. I have to have some sort of adult joke to grab their attention to make them focus on the show. And the kids are expecting the gags. So the gags that I write through are my favorite part of the show, which has nothing to do with magic. So it's a more clown aspect. But yeah, if I had to do anything, the jokes and gags, I could eliminate the magic, though it wouldn't be a very good magic show at that point. But that's my favorite part of the show, is the jokes and gags. If I'm to watch something, I gotta tell you, man, I can't be more blown away than by expert card magic. I don't do it. Yeah, I can do the gaff decks and a few little simple tricks, but you do a card trick, or I watched like Garrett Thomas, or even Steve Dixon, putting the card underneath my watch in the picnic at the BMC 15, 20 years ago, or whatever it was. I've no way it's under my watch. What? I just, yeah. So, yeah, watching, Fool Us on TV and things like that, and illusions and stuff. And I enjoy comedy magic like Matt King, but if you really get into something that's going to blow my mind, expert card magic or close-up magic, doesn't have to be cards. So nothing specific when it comes to a trick, right? I enjoy watching magic, and my show is more the storytelling, gags, and jokes. That's my favorite.
And that's my favorite. When I used to do tons of kid shows, I never said no to an agent.
So I was working a lot and I got to perfect stuff, so-called perfect stuff. Sometimes a kid would yell out a really funny line. I'm sure you're familiar with this. And we'll use it. We'll use it next show, maybe for the next 10 shows. Who knows?
Oh, I owe royalties to something.
Fantastic. It's my favorite gag magic too, gag prop stuff, and I love that. Other magicians who are purists that I call purists, not necessarily here. Basically, the guys here are so nice and they seem so accepting, believe it or not. Being probably originally from here, Mike, you don't realize what a gold mine as far as people are concerned here, as far as people in the magic community. But elsewhere, and I've lived all across Canada. I was born and raised in Montreal, lived in Toronto and Winnipeg for about 13 years. Sometimes you get some magicians go, he's a children's magician. Oh, yeah, I'd love to see a guy adept at card magic or card manipulation do a kid show and survive.
Yeah, that's a very good point when we talk about, the rungs on the ladder of how we're perceived. Here's the children's entertainer, here's the juggler, here's the ventriloquist, and then the mime way down there. And now, thanks to things like AGT, your ventriloquist is jumping up there, and even the jugglers are in there. And sometimes the magician, depending on the movie or AGT, we kind of have a tendency to bump all around. But the kids part of the magician, you're not really seeing that on Fool Us or seeing that on Now You See Me Too or anything like that. So we do have a tendency, but we are the hardest working. I might do 250 shows in a year. And then someone else who's doing the stage comedy, magic, or illusions might do 8 shows. And we both get paid the same.
Yes.
Right? So somebody's going to post saying, just had to turn down a $2,500 corporate gig, and I got a $250 birthday party. So I'm like, I got to do 10 of those to equal your one, which is why I think people have a tendency to leave the kids' magic. It's simply economics. So even locally, right, we've had I could rattle off 8 or 9 names that were very prominent children's entertainers, like way up there, and then they have moved on to world stages, like Matt Johnson, as an example.
Yes.
He's huge now. He's not doing birthday parties. Um, thank you, Matt. Thank you, more for me. But yes, I think people have a tendency to move on because of the money. I do comedy magic and won a few awards even in comedy magic, or even some close-up. But other than Christmas time of doing corporate shows or a few restaurants, 80% of my business is children's entertainment. And if you're going to specialize, I'm not a sleight of hand expert, like Henry Evans or something like that. So, but I am an expert in the field of children's magic. So stick with what you're good at.
Yes.
And certainly we've seen some kids entertainers who've had shows, been on TV and lots of different things have happened in New York, Silly Billy. So there are people who can still reach a certain height of fame. It's not what I'm after. I mean, really, I miss going to shows right now due to 2020 and COVID of just getting that. It's like it's sort of like an energy vibe that the kids give back to you, and it makes you feel alive. And not getting that is like, oh, I need my drug. Where's my drug?
It's absolutely true. There's nothing like the buzz of a magic show,
of the live interaction. I was going to ask you, but you kind of answered my question in a way. Do you prefer Zoom? I think Zoom is a real blessing, to be honest. I mean, it's either Zoom or do no shows. And at least we're privy to world-class magicians and their lectures through Zoom. We're able to do some magic shows through Zoom as well. We're able to still hold our magic meetings thanks to Zoom. So I'm very grateful for Zoom, but it's nothing like the real live.
Thank you. That's the thing. You're touching on it. So even, we had our executive meeting again last night on Zoom, and I'm just done with Zoom. Right? Like, I'm thankful for Zoom. I can meet people. We can talk. We can interact or do like podcasts, example like this. But it's not the same. And here's the thing. Maybe for doing a meeting or getting together or seeing someone face to face, like we are, so to speak, right now. But a magic show is just different. Maybe my internet connection is fantastic and I can do little magic tricks and there's no halting. But if this is how I look to the other person, I could bring an elephant into the room and then move him out, and maybe you don't even see it. It's not magic; it's poor technology.
Yes.
So, and I see way too many things in our forums and online where people are doing the magic shows, especially for kids, right? Because you need that feedback in the interaction. If you're doing a look, don't see type trick or a sucker trick or some sort of gag, if everyone's on mute, which really most of the kids' entertainers, you kind of have to put them on mute because otherwise you got 80 kids on 80 different videos all screaming something. It doesn't work. So yes, are there some guys who have spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours and perfected a studio and they go live and they've advertised and they're selling tickets? Ken Scott's killing it, and Carissa Hendricks, though not a children's entertainer as much anymore in that scenario, is killing it. I'm not into it. I also have a full-time job as well, so I have 2 full-time jobs, and this one's now nothing. I don't have the time to focus on anything past this laptop and camera.
Yes.
Right? Or the money associated to it as I lose that income as a second income. So yeah, when we're talking 2020 and the adapting, I've seen other people adapt. What I've done is pre-recorded shows. So while I won't do live shows due to technology, even if my side's good, how many times have we been in it? Hey, Bruce, can you hear me last night? Glenn, no, you can't hear me? Oh, turn that off. Reboot, do this. 20 minutes to get everybody all settled, and then somebody shows up late and interrupts something and still can't. So you need to actually have a second person running your switcher, your webcam, putting people on mute, controlling things. It's almost not a one-man show anymore. And then do people expect the cost to be low? Because why hire, Norden the magician? You can have Silly Billy or Ken Scott. It's David Copperfield's board today. Do you want him for your birthday party? So you're getting the reason you get me is because I'm the best in the Pacific Northwest type thing. But now you can have the best worldwide. So my competition's way up there. I'm no longer the best, right? Or not that I am, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
In my little local zone of what people are wanting to hire in person versus what they can do online. So it's changed our market. So the only thing I've done with the help of the Great Gordini Board Boys my business partners, we just film a pre-recorded show and we market it and sell it like Dora the Explorer, Sesame Street, that style, where we're breaking the fourth wall, where the kids kind of think that we're talking to them and respond back to the TV, but they can re-watch it. So if I have a pre-recorded, it's on YouTube with a private link, and then we customize intros and exits to the company or the people, and then we sell a product which we don't have to do every time. So now it's not like, at 6 o'clock, at Saturday, I have to do this or be there. It's here's a link, you're done, it's set up. So that's worked. I did all my library shows that way this year. I did some fairs, festivals, Canada Day. So that's the only way. Yes, you have to adapt, otherwise zero income.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Words of wisdom from Mike Norden. We'll be back with Mike right after this.
Enjoy Magic Mike Likey's animated cartoons, comic books, CDs, and DVDs available from Amazon. He is also the author of more than 45 self-help alternative wellness books, as well as instructional magic books, all available from Amazon. Published in international magicians' trade journals, Magic Mike Likey is a member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians and the Society of American Magicians.
And we're back with magician Mike Norden. We've talked so much today about all kinds of things, but I failed to mention all the awards. You've won tons of awards.
Yeah, you know what? The magic community and the clubs have been very good to me. When I started out, I didn't even know they existed. Like I said, I went to Disneyland, found out about magic, started performing just some card tricks. I had some nieces who wanted me to go to their school. Boom, now I'm a kids entertainer. And then, David Wilson from the Vancouver Magic Circle found me from a newspaper article that was written about me, brought me into the Magic Club. And okay, there's a children's competition. Sure, I'd like to enter that. And I lost spectacularly. I was, and that was a learning experience, really, right? So, and I was right into them. Thought, I'm pretty good. I'm doing kid shows, and I had no idea compared to some of these other guys. And the next year, I also lost. Maybe not as spectacularly, but I lost in the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians contest. And I got lots of feedback, took it all to heart, and then, I won 13 years in a row with one gap in between. So, from the Vancouver Magic Circle, the Fraser Valley Magic Circle, Cadabra, Pacific Coast Association of Magicians, some Reader's Choice for magazines. So there's been different organizations that we've done. ACE, which is the Awesome Children's Entertainer Group. So, it's spread out. We do public shows where the kids get to vote as my favorite, right? Because obviously kids are biased. I mean, they accept money and bribes. No, they don't. They don't. I've been very fortunate, and that has boosted. I was going to kind of, once I hit 10, sounded like a good number, but we put on public shows, especially on the Fraser Valley Magic Circle. We do the Mission Festival. So we need magicians, and sometimes with the kids' magicians, they're, so I've emceed and I've entered, and Gordon and I have also done duo acts as Norden and Gordon. So we're trying to just reinvent things and do things differently. But yes, I've been very blessed with really good constructive criticism from my peers to improve the act and continue performing live for kids where they get to be the judge. So thank you. But, awards mean nothing. Let's be honest. They don't mean nothing to the customer. Newspaper coverage and everything does help. But if a customer phones me and says, why should I hire you? I've won 13 times. You should hire me over so-and-so. It means nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
FISM doesn't mean anything. What's that? Unless you're like something popular like an Oscar or an Olympic gold medal, those two things are always going to be recognized in the field of athletics and acting. But having a children's award or a Fraser Valley Magic Circle or a FISM, or it's just a shiny trophy that can sit in a bookcase, and really you and I will appreciate the effort that might go into it. But it does help us hone our skills and be a better product for the consumer. So that's where it benefits.
Exactly. How can people get in touch with you, Mike?
You can. Website's probably the easiest thing. My website's magicshows.ca. And on there, all my links to social media, my phone number and email is all available. So yeah, easiest thing is magicshows.ca.
Thank you so much. An honor, and it was great fun also. I try to have fun with my guests, and I knew you'd end up being a fun guy, which is also like a mushroom, I think. But anyway, no, it's, that's another joke. That's a whole other thing.
You're doing great. I love it.
Yeah. One day my wife is going to put that pillow over my head in the middle of the night. That's going to be it for all those jokes. So I want to thank you, Mike, for joining us this day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
And I want to thank all of you out there for joining us as well. Take care. We'll see you all very soon.